Welcome to Silver Bow Publishing's virtual double launch for Ella Ward Abel's Green Shoulders, New and Selected Poems 2003 to 2023, and Matt Thomas's Disappearing by the Math. We're excited that you're here to join us to celebrate both of these new releases. My name is Megan Hakkinen. I'm a two-time world champion endurance cyclist, the author of two adventure cycling memoirs, one that's being optioned for film, and just returned home from competing in the High Atlas of Morocco. Silverbow Publishing is an independent creative book publisher committed to publishing great literature in all genres. Candace James is at the helm as the general manager. Silverbow Publishing is located in Greater Vancouver, British Columbia, and typically publishes poetry and fiction, around 20 to 30 books annually, by both emerging and established international writers. Silverbow books are available in print retail bookstores and libraries worldwide. If you would like to purchase a print version of either of these wonderful books, please contact your local bookstore and ask them to order a copy of the book through Ingram Distribution. You can also purchase the books directly from the publisher if you prefer at silverbowpublishing.com. Ebook versions are available on Amazon. Today we have General Manager Candace James here with us, and I'll invite her to speak a bit about her experience of working with the authors before we begin.
Yes, I'll tell you, it's been a real trip working with these two authors. They're so diverse, and it's just been very, very interesting. Excellent, excellent writing, and it just keeps you kind of glued to the page, and then you just want to get to the next page. They're very, very seasoned writers. Do make sure you go out and support them. If you enjoy the reading, go out and buy their books.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Candace. It's always great that you can join us and share a little bit. So without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce our first reader today. Ella Ward Abel's work has appeared in Rattle, The Reader, the Istanbul Review, the Worcester Review, the Honest Ulsterman, Verstal, and hundreds of others. Ward is the author of 3 full collections and 10 chapbooks of poetry, including Jonesing for Byzantium, American Brews, Little Town Gods, A Jerusalem of Ponds, The Rain Flock Sings Again, Floodlit, and The Width of Here with Silverbow. You can find Ward online, so welcome, Ward. We're really excited that you can be here today to read from Green Shoulders.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Candace. Y'all are doing a wonderful thing here for writers like Matt and myself, and it means a great deal to me to be able to share with y'all today some of the pieces from my compilation, Green Shoulders. So I'll go ahead and get started, and I'll just say that my work is kind of wrapped in the countryside wherein I live and live my life and have lived my life, this part of rural Georgia. So it's impossible for it not to seep in. I'm also a very spiritual person, and I see all of that in the natural world around me. So that's pretty much a synopsis, although incomplete. My first poem that I'll read was originally from my collection entitled Jonesing for Byzantium. And this one is about my late grandfather. In fact, the name of it is My Very Late Grandfather. The conversation with grandfather was a dream I had just before dawn today, noticing his full head of gray hair not being patched with matrilineal scalp like mine. He grinned as if teasing, without words, looked above my eye line and then beyond, implying a big picture conclusion that I too would share. Chuckling, a spring shower of comfort upon me, unison with him, now breaks my rising. The next piece is about a situation that all writers find themselves in. gaps in their writing journal and gaps in their writing area sometimes occur, and they may be the result of many different things. And this poem kind of examines that situation. It's called Breaks. You'll notice the gap in my journal. Though broken, it approached 6 weeks or more. You'll wonder why the writing stopped, slept, then awoke in time for itself. There will be other questions about shadows and space, and curtains that didn't move even with windows cracked or open. Later, you will disregard the wondering altogether and return to your moments, your own moments of darkness and light. But the break in my journal will still be there, still with an eye open and a mouth that makes no sound. Many times I'll find myself sitting on my front porch watching the natural world go by, as it were, literally. And this is an example of one of those observations when the sandhill cranes pass over this part of Georgia twice a year, going and coming. It's called Move. The 23rd of the month, and hundreds of cranes from Sandhill move. Breathing flush with steam, the great rain flock sings, shaming more starlings than I can count. A status quo stopping, they fly, they skim through cloud bottoms, gray and heavy and north pointed. Sound of migrants. I've counted 1,000 in 10 minutes. The green air remembers just ahead of raining. They're in Sharpsburg by now. Frequency goes quiet, then showers. Another observation of the countryside here, trying to describe the beauty of a flock of geese rising from a pond. It's called a sky-wide russet flock ascending. Before sunset, but just, through the terraced clouds of a dusty month and no rain since the hurricane, end-time trumpets rise from local ponds along the fall line. Since the fires of singularity up to now, when that leaving shines through rows of sibling pine and random skeleton oaks, veterans from an oxbow creek risen in the sun's departure, streak orange under blue and onto 1,000 mirrors, flashing a sky-wide russet flock ascending. Noticing a herd of cattle in a lightning storm brought this next one. It's called Kneel the Cattle. Under winter lightning kneel the cattle, while behind windows I bathe in a flashing room. Dreams of sea level fill thunderheads. They drain all darkness down to the gulf. Their song rattles windows and hereabouts. Someday I'll die too, on a course to later fall as rain, when the cedars bend and the air changes just enough. Then the number 1 will share me with about 1 billion stars. I'll finish up with the last two here. This one is called The Light That Travels. On this morning that seeps, then pours into bright halls, through small rooms, woods, over shoals, shallow bays, and floods the seaboard streams and grasses, expands rocks at their highest points, I continue into what unfolds like geologic time with its low groans and scraping and cracks in a Godhead flow I can only ride and not divert. And my last one, it's called Wednesday. From whom all blessings flow comes the sound of streams and rain and flashes, and that which is allowed in a breeze or pyroclasm barely moves a strand of hair except as truth. To think all in all is hard, but to receive it can seem impossible, like seeing the universe through a needle's door or a sky shown in shards of glass, and being alone. Alone only as it means singularity, means complete, means the sum of one and none. And that noise sparks utter silence. And that silence is a bell. Those are the pieces that I had chosen. I do have more, obviously, depending on the time, but wanted to give Matt a chance to perform his work as well. So I'm at y'all's mercy. Thank you
That
very much for listening.
that next to last one was a damn good poem. That was a fine poem. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're a really strong reader, Ward. I think that getting a taste of you, even virtually, I can feel the just the power behind your words, and every sound counts. So it was really a treat to hear you share those poems with us. I think that was a great selection.
You're very kind, Megan. Thank you.
So we're going to do a switcheroo now, and I'm excited to welcome Matt Thomas. Matt is a smallholder farmer, engineer, and pushcart nominated poet. His poetry has appeared in The Wild Word, Triggerfish Critical Review, the Hampton Sydney Review, Huron Review, Galway Review, Cleaver Magazine, Spellbinder Magazine, the River Heron Review, Dunes Review, and elsewhere. We're really excited to have Matt here today to read from Disappearing by the Math. We were chatting a little bit before about your process in this, so I'm excited to hear you read from the collection now. So I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you. Disappearing by the Math is a line from one of the poems that I'll read probably last. But it's basically about every day you're 1 minute closer to disappearing, right? Every minute, every hour, every day. And that's kind of the overwhelming question of life, right? Everything is weighed against that reality. This book, as I was telling Megan, is kind of like it was my self-help through middle age. It was the way that, when I woke up and my daughter was off to school and, I wasn't doing the daily types of things that I did before, and my job had gotten kind of boring at this part. At this point, I'd been, doing it for 15 or so years. I knew what I was doing. I could do it by rote. And at the same time, a lot of the ideas I had about what was going to happen when I retired started to go away. My dad got Alzheimer's. I planned to hunt and fish with him, and I planned for us to be retired together because he's only 19 years older than I am. But of course, that didn't happen. And that kind of threw me for a loop. And so, as I was telling Megan, these poems were like a rope. And each day I'd write one, or each week I'd work on one and pull myself a little further up the mountain and, trying to get to the other side. And that's why I like the cover of this book so much and this picture so much, is because I felt every day embattled, and I have one poem in here that I'll read about being hit by a rocket. And the reason it came to mind is because I was thinking about Ukraine, just because it was in the news at the time. And I was thinking about how bizarre to, as a farmer, stand there in your field and suddenly tanks are rolling by or rockets are flying around. That's that's how I felt metaphorically almost every day, that I'd come out to the pasture and seen a tank in the pasture. And what do I do with that? How do I process that? And so that's what these poems are about. And so that's the tone of this book. And one of my strategies for getting to day to day was to focus on what was really happening at that moment. So, we go through life and we don't really pay any attention to it. Um, you know, uh, this one is about standing in line at the post office. So we go to the post office, we stand in line, we leave. We don't even hardly remember having stood in line, but as we're standing in line, we're hearing a million things, we're seeing a million things, we're feeling a million things. All of these inputs are being processed. We're just not paying attention to them. And so to me, poetry is a way to take a moment and flesh it out and build out all of the sensory realities of that moment within the poem, similar to what an artist might do painting. This one is called Still Life at the PO. In line at the post office, fluorescent light blinking, each wink generating a low frequency pinging whine over and over, which in seconds I assigned as a reliable noise to the hesitant queue, approaching the steps of the process, the next uncertain physical interaction, clutching the something, firing, corresponding with purpose at each convenience. An oscillating fan wet the clerk's shirt to reveal his torso as he worked. Blades broadcasting glue and rubber formed to the idea of the post, exchange of signs and meaning, the eye of a body gazing from the packaging, not firearms, not solvents, foodstuffs labeled, addresses affixed, packed imagining the travel, delivery, reveal, a bowl of fruit, 2 hanging birds, cheese and apples, a half-drunk glass of wine. Still life, fluffed to an interest in you, on its way to something else. Valued by weight of the accrued consumption encroaching hand to hand on shuffling feet, horses, ships, planes, trucks, wheezing bellows, starters cranking energy station to threshold of that other same as yours, and a moment of decision to allow inside or not the look you have arranged, nestled in bubble wrap, greedy for the shaping light to share with that foreign you who will concede that you were right to send the meaningful thing, even though you don't know what it is or why you certainly had to love it. I like the idea of everything having a kind of consciousness, even a package, even something when you're walking around a store and you see something and you have to have that thing. Why do you have to have that thing? What is it about that thing that speaks to you, just you, in that, very specific way? When I was a kid, I remember thinking that, I would assign personalities to all kinds of inanimate objects. And I wonder today, were they really inanimate? Is anything really inanimate? I'm not sure. I really don't think that it is. And this poem's about another moment, a smoke break. I've quit smoking for a long time, although I was in the house of someone today who was smoking, and I thought, oh my God, for a cigarette. Wouldn't that be great? If only they didn't kill you and they didn't stink. But this is called Smoke Break, M Street, September. Reflected by water tensed on the horizontal, waxy petals of rootless slumping fall pansies, passing time hand to mouth as St. Matt's rings the quarter hour, bulging, distorted, ash-flecked, huddled molecules, pacing, flickering, wildly thrown light, casting a bind at each toll, stretching the membrane of the moment. Between each dripped note and exhale at a time, paralysis, everyday magic, roughing the lungs to take the paint of the shape of our escape, sketches in quick strokes on grids of need, pale as the sky's worn bluing. Each line like the brush of a starling wing, a kiss with a little bit of tongue, shotgun for the sagging afternoon, the cherry trees, half naked, questioning the mirror. this idea of sensory experience and how to formally collect it or how to codify it is a really interesting idea. When I was younger, I read a book by Robert Percy called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And maybe you've read that, but it was basically about the author's nervous breakdown because he tried to experience everything that he was sensing at one time. And, it's easier to do it in a poem than in the moment, which is what he was trying to do. It's also better for your head, I think, to try to do it in a poem. But each of these poems, I would try to fully reimagine the moment in order to, I don't know, I guess, to keep it better, I guess. I think that's the best way to put it. This one is called In Which You Are Hit by a Rocket. And this one is what I was thinking as I was standing out in the horse pasture and thinking, my God, what if a tank went rolling by? And it's not so crazy an idea. It happens all the time. In which you are hit by a rocket. Your name is the first to go, even before the cheat grass wilts, before the caterpillars are hurled in their sod homes, before the fungied stump that you had bent to touch disassembles, your body ruptures, turns inside out, cell by cell, before your toast, coffee, kiss at the door, before the parent who named you first thought, there'll be X. That's the moment when your name sensed the detonation and fled that fast. No more a trick than the solid transforming into a gas, so quickly as to demolish you. Or the way your death occurs over infinite time, similar to the way you loved, erecting the stubborn parts like stones, fitting the shapes together in the way that they spooned best, allowing the shapes to make the thing they always wanted to be. And you, the builder, were the numbered beats of each of their satisfied stone hearts, each unique like snowflakes, and each the same like stardust, which you always thought a gaudy, shameful analogy, but you held to regardless. Because what if this entire existence is a tacky magic, something even peeper frogs are born knowing? Maybe the frogs call us sad as a noun because our parasitic brains have walled us off from that one known thing that makes life worth the pain of rockets, which of course it is, because the rockets don't hit everyone. But more fundamental is that you did realize that rain on a roof is a comfort because you aren't getting wet, not because the sound is pleasant, though it is. So the woo-woo of it aside, you stuck with the stardust. Otherwise, there was no reason, no purpose, no end game at all, just accident, happenstance. You'd been spit out of a blind luck machine, a found dog, stolen street sign, fallen limb, off-target rocket. Your life an iteration of semicolons, and you died like you were created in a slap of skin, your only magic, the ability to comfort another, to kiss, to hear a cat snore, or to stand on a hill at night and see the lights of a city like the bioluminescent spiderweb on the grass of some dark hollow. All of those souls, or what have you, peeping in their spring. But if a solid can turn into a gas expanding, faster than a train, in the blink of an eye, if that's possible, what isn't? Surely the world and all of the life in it is a wonder, which is what you were thinking when you bent to look at the stump. There's a book, it's called The Stardust Revolution. Let's see, it is Jacob Berkowitz. I'm terrible at remembering authors' names, ironically. It's a wonderful book about the chemical composition of stars and the 5 or 6 main chemical compounds responsible for life on Earth, which are the exact same. It sounds really stupid to say, oh, we come from stars. But all of the evidence points to the fact that we actually do, which then sounds extremely cool when you think about it. This next one is about stars also. It's a little longer, and then I'll close with a short one. This one is called Atlas. We live on a mountain and we look out over the west side of the mountain. And our bedroom has two big windows in the front, right in front of the bed. And so in the morning or early morning, a little late at night, you wake up and you look out and you see all the stars. It's like living in a tree. Yard slopes away and we're at tree height up here on the second floor. The star always in the same pane, third from left, like a box it's kept in, is nothing, probably, just travel exhausted light, but gutters on regardless. The wonder it stokes in my small animal imagination is a close, warm space in the dark, when the sound of my heart expanding and collapsing seems more house noise than bodily function. What constellation is that, the story of the stop between beats? A clock is watched in expectation, but stars are watched to see what's been, not till, past. In the pauses between sleep cycles, they, in their dogged runs, lull us into assuming that today's experience is tomorrow's promise, which is what I'm doing now, watching remembered morning turn the redbud suckers thin and bright as crazes in glass. Anticipating morning while night lasts, which is what night does, a sightless day for our kind anyway. How cold the black around the star looks, and funny how often smallness causes us to imagine ourselves large, like looking at a distant mountain and pinching it between fingers, or lying now in bed imagining I'd like to grow giant size and stride out of the house and down this hill, which is itself a pinched remnant. But even a giant, I know I'd be just a small thing, keeping still within a larger shape, like the center of a crow in the rain. Smallness is of a course for a thing born where there is more nothing than anything. This bed is commonplace and warm with promise, a given name in a clutter of unsigned things, a kind of public recording, and I feel claimed if by nothing but needs temporarily met and the sweet pop of vertebrae adjusting. When I close my eyes, I see my atoms arrayed, my own emitting light, my own distant sisters, like me, not burning, but radiating effort, shouldering the order of things. Sometimes I wake in the memory of long-gone intimacy, and that star and I are bound like that, coinciding for a while and then separated by degrees, following momentum through the matter of the 100 billion souls scaffolding atlas. But that's tomorrow's work. Tonight, I'll watch time pass until it slips beyond the window frame and stall, bed in my senses, while I can. This last poem is called The Fall Chords, and it's about driving home from my daughter's 21st birthday party. Headlights carving an egress through the soybeans, coming home with a load of drunk kids, back from my daughter's 21st birthday party, thrown without a hitch, as long as no one throws up in the truck. The country snaking by, pasture, trees, and telephone poles, what they'd have plowed into had I not stayed sober, winning the easy points, keeping my eyes on the road, burning that gold star to warm my optimism, dread cocked like an ear, remembering my father's hands on the wheel, same as she'll remember mine, or another familiar thing, which will erase me, light thrown on the road immediately in front, disappearing by the math, nothing but memory, imagination, the bare firewood bin in June, a claim without proof that the fall chords were. All right, thank you.
Fabulous work.
Thank you.
That what was that? There's more nothing than anything.
Yes,
Oh my goodness, what a great line, man.
thank you.
Thank you for that really wonderful reading, Matt. I also enjoyed the selection. I felt like I was equally taken by your voice, as different as it is from Ward's. You both have very different style, but I think that there's some similarities in your writing. And
Mhm.
I was wondering if there are any audience questions. Feel free to put those in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. And I see one from Candace.
Yes, what was the name of that book you were referring to, Matt? Stardust?
The Stardust Revolution by Jacob Berkowitz, is I believe,
I'm
if I
going to look
remember.
that one up. It sounds good.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Stardust Revolution, Jacob Berkowitz. Got it.
Yep.
So
Thank
if we
you.
have audience questions, you can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. I think to kick us off, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what inspires your writing in general or specifically. So if you can think of, your experience in a certain place inspired this specific, poem in the collection, or if you wanted to kind of speak more generally. I think we'd love to hear a little bit more. Do you want to kick us off, Ward, on that one?
Sure, sure. I've often thought of myself as a painter who doesn't paint because I would really love to be like Candace and be such a wonderful artist visually. And so my desire, I think, comes through. My desire to do that comes through with some of the imagery that I come up with. It's just it's like Matt was talking about the freezing of the moment because the moment is all there really is, even if well if indeed it even exists, and I don't want to go there, but it's that freezing of that image that is a part of immortality, I guess you would say, and I noticed that in Matt's work too. There's this understanding of how finite we are. And so the moment, the sense of wonder that we hear so much about, that moment is such a joy and very important to me. Even if I didn't write, I think it would still be important.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think mechanically, my poems all come from little observations. And it's not
Right.
just anything, it's got to strike me. And it's not even just something, I don't know, different or weird or whatever. It's something that kind of pricks my sense of the universal and how big and magic everything is, especially the everyday things, because the everyday things make up our lives, right? We're not all, famous billionaires or whatever. We're, and even famous billionaires, what makes up their life is the mundane, the everyday, the waking up, the coffee, the making breakfast, whatever it happens to be. Those are our human. That's what describes us as humans. Those mundane activities. So I'm really fascinated by boring stuff looked at in a light to realize that it's not at all boring, that it's amazing, it's wild. The coffee you drink in the morning is amazing. It's grown in some place in South America somewhere. I mean, someplace you've never even been, and then it's shipped here and somehow ends up in your kitchen in Virginia. So it's I don't know. Sometimes I tend to look at us the way I think what would a a geologist or a sociologist or somebody who digs up our society 2,000 years from now, what would they say about us? What connections would they make? The way they make connections now about ancient civilizations. And, uh, you know, I like thinking about that. Maybe it's the old, today is a good day to die, or, every morning, the samurai thing, every morning, imagine your death. I just, I don't want to run from that reality. I want to look at it and shake it and take it around and buddy around with it.
I liked what you said about everything having a sentience, like inanimate objects. They actually, like I talk to things. My computer doesn't work right. I actually grab onto it and I say, come on now, you've got to get working here. I need this to happen. Because I've got one computer here. It's my favorite and my newest, but it's the most temperamental one I've ever had. The battery's no good on it. I got to keep it plugged in, and it's the newest one. And if I put my little mouse button in beside the cord, it won't kick up properly. It keeps shutting down. So I got to pull that out, say, okay, now you can kick up, and then it kicks up. It's just craziness, but it's just nuts. And the computer that works the least best, I love the best. Craziness.
We love the flaws.
Yeah, yeah. We just,
Personality. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, flaws are what makes personality, right?
yeah. Even if I
And
bump
have,
into a door, sometimes I say, "Oops, sorry."
I think
yeah.
when hearing you talk a bit about your midlife crisis and disappearing by the Matt, I was thinking about when we pay attention, I feel like time expands and it lasts longer. So I think if we want to live full and like embodied lives, paying attention is key, right? Like I feel like so often we remember the events that we put on our calendars, like a friend's birthday party or, going out for me an exciting bike ride. But we could probably remember so much more of our lives if we paid a little bit more attention in the post office line and while we're driving around to get groceries. And if we,
Hmm.
yeah, like those aren't the moments getting in the way of things. Those are the moments of our lives, are the makeup of our lives. So I
Yeah.
I really love how you draw attention to that.
I was thinking today uh, that, at one point of the day, I was thinking, oh, I'm just wasting time. I'm wasting time. And then it occurred to me, there's no such thing. If you're breathing, you're not wasting time. You're filling space, you're filling time, you're doing something. You can be aware in a way that allows you to fully enjoy that moment, not just maybe I'm in a waiting room somewhere, maybe I'm in a line or something. So yeah, I have to tell myself that all the time.
And,
I argue with myself. Like Candace talks to inanimate objects, I talk to myself constantly.
and just imagine of the time when you're breathing in and you say, "Oh, wasting time." You really could actually think of it even like way deeper, and you could think every one of those molecules and little muons and quarks that you're breathing in and then pushing out. That's a lifetime for each of them. It could be
Yeah,
expanding centuries.
Well,
yes,
that reminds me so much of the detail that we're talking about. We look at these small details that are the essence of life. You can do that with matter, and you can say that the essence of life is somewhere down even smaller. It all kind of pieces together when you're looking at it that way, as you were saying, Matt. The details are the important things, even if they are mundane. I mean, that's the imagery. That's so much of the. You were talking about driving home and your daughter's party, and you're noticing things as you go by, and those things are still there when we're not there.
right.
But yeah, so are we part of? We could get into a whole mess of stuff there, but that's what I love about poetry. You can span the entire horizon with two or three words, and you can also give 3 or 4 volumes to a small detail. So it's wonderfully upside down.
Poetry is powerful. Is
Yeah.
very, very powerful, and people will scoff when you say that. If they've never thought about it. But the local paper came out and did an interview shortly after the book came out, and what I was explaining to them was, I live in a very rural area, not a highly educated area. Most everybody on this mountain, they have day jobs. They run bulldozers. They work on road crews. They're in construction. They build houses. All awesome things, but not super intellectual pursuits. And so they tend to look at poetry as a fet or silly or to have no purpose. But to me, poetry is a very blue collar thing. It's a language toolbox, and those are tools to build all kinds of things. Poetry and art in general is a very powerful tool that is given freely to every human. I want to become like a poetry evangelist. I just want to go around the world. I
You,
want to be like Megan. If only I was
yeah.
world champion at anything, I would have an excuse to go around the world and evangelize poetry.
You know what I love about poetry? You can take just a line, just one line out of any poetry book anywhere, and you can just think on that one line, and you'll expand it in your mind to be so much more than even that one line. It's
Yeah,
a mind expander, really. That's what it is.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm losing the natural light. Pretty soon I'm going to be in the dark, I think.
I'm
Sun
always in the
going down
dark.
up there.
Yeah.
The sun is going down. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any other questions before we wrap up? Do you have any questions for each other as poets? Candace, is there anything you wanted to prompt before we part ways?
I just think it's it would be really neat, and I don't know how this would ever work, but it would be really neat if you could get three people and a moderator and do this once a week, just exploring the ideas of poetry. Wouldn't that be neat? What
Be
would you
great.
call it? Yeah. I'm gonna try and figure something out like that. That would be really, really neat.
Yeah.
Just sit down coolly, and we could even you could say a line, and I could say another line, and Ward could say a line, and then the moderator could say, "Well, I didn't care for that second line too much, but the third one wasn't bad." It'd be kind of neat.
Well, Ward, I'm so glad I met you. I was, I very much enjoyed your poetry. Thank you. And my daughter's on here. She's a poet, A.H. Thomas, and also editor of a literary journal. And she
Oh,
texted me immediately as you were speaking and said, "This guy's good." She's
Well,
23, so that is
tell her
high
her father
praise.
is tell her her father is very good too. Very good. I'm
Uh,
envious of a lot of your imagery, I can tell you, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful
oh,
thing.
thank you. Well,
and
we'll
I
have to
don't
stay in touch.
and I don't think
Absolutely.
you guys don't live too far from each other. If you're Georgia and you're Virginia, right?
Well,
Kind
it's
of.
about it's several hours, but
Yeah,
it's closer than we are to you, Candace.
Oh
I can
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about as close as I'll get to you. I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon, in June, and that's about as close as I'll be to Vancouver anytime
That's pretty
Yeah.
soon.
close.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
it's still about to get to Portland's about 4 hours from here.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's quite a
That's a
bit.
it's a big area up in there. I can't
Yeah.
wait.
There's a whole state in between
Yeah.
Washington. Cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's been a slice, and I want to
And
thank you
Janice,
guys for being the wonderful, wonderful poets you are, and I'm very, very pleased to be working with you.
Thanks,
All
Candace.
right.
Thank
It's
you.
my honor as well. Thank you, Candace, and
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Megan.
of
And
course.
thanks, Megan.
Yeah,
And I'm
Megan's
going
the
to be
best.
following your racing now that I know who you are. Very cool.
Well, my
Yeah.
next event is in the Hellenic Mountains of Greece, and then my
Wow.
final event of the season is in the mountains of Kyrgyzstan. It's called the Silk Road Mountain Race, and it's 2,000 kilometers, and a lot of it's at elevation above 3,000 meters. And I'm
Oh,
really excited. But in the past, a lot of my events have been in the U.S. and Canada, so this is a big year for me.